For years, I thought the conversation around handgun calibers was settled. You carried what worked, you trained hard with it, and you didn't overthink the rest. But somewhere along the way, things started to shift. More shooters, myself included, began noticing gaps the old favorites couldn't always fill. Maybe it was the push for better performance in smaller guns. Maybe it was the search for power without compromise. Or maybe it was just curiosity catching up with innovation. Whatever sparked it, 2025 is shaping up to be the year people stop treating 9mm as the automatic answer. Newer, faster, sharper options are stepping into the spotlight, and the conversation is getting a whole lot more interesting. Today, on Scoper 360 Degrees, I'm taking you inside that shift, breaking down the calibers that aren't just alternatives, but real contenders built to solve problems the standard 9 can't. Some of them offer more speed, some hit harder, some stretch the limits of what a compact concealed carry pistol can do, and a few might surprise you with how refined, efficient, or downright fun they are to shoot. Before we jump into each one, consider this your warning. Once you see what these rounds can actually deliver, you might start questioning whether your everyday setup is as complete as you thought. Let's dive in. Before we look at the calibers rising in 2025, it's important to understand why the 9mm dominated for so long. It wasn't hype. It earned that position through a mix of practicality and performance. The round was affordable, easy to find, low recoil, and carried well in almost every platform. For decades, it gave shooters exactly what they needed without asking for much in return. NATO's adoption in the 1980s pushed the 9mm into military and law enforcement use, and once agencies standardized it, civilians followed. Then, the FBI's updated ballistics testing proved that modern 9mm loads could match the penetration and expansion of bigger calibers while still offering higher capacity and softer recoil. Manufacturers leaned into the trend, shrinking pistols without sacrificing round count, and suddenly guns like the SIG P365 changed the entire carry market. The real reason the 9mm reigned was balance. It wasn't the most powerful or the fastest round, but it did everything well enough, and at a price that kept people training. But now, shooters are demanding more penetration, more speed, more reach, and that's why the 9mm's once unshakable position is finally being challenged. The .30 Super Carry entered the scene without noise or bragging rights, but it didn't need either. Federal engineered it to challenge the assumptions most concealed carriers accepted for years. With 100-grain HST traveling around 1,250 feet per second, the ballistics run right beside the 9. But the smaller diameter bullet gives you a real advantage. More rounds in the same size gun. Pistols that topped out at 10+1 now stretch to 13+1 without growing in width or height. On the range, the difference is instant. The slide tracks flatter. The recoil pulse is smoother, follow-up shots come faster, and groups tighten, especially in compact and micro-compact frames. The downside is cost. Defensive loads hover around $30 to $35 a box, and availability is still growing. But the construction is premium, the consistency is there, and the performance speaks for itself. It doesn't replace the 9. It simply expands what a compact carry pistol can be. If the .30 Super Carry is the quiet disruptor, the 5.7/28 is the opposite. The first time I squeezed the trigger on an FN57, it felt like firing a miniature rifle through a lightweight pistol. A typical 40-grain bullet, leaving a 5-inch barrel at around 2,300 feet per second, produces a trajectory so flat that your point of aim barely changes from 25 to 75 yards. The recoil is surprisingly light, and the bottleneck case geometry creates one of the smoothest feeding cycles you'll ever feel in a handgun. Whether it's the FN, the Ruger 57, or the PSA Rock with its 23-round magazine, the 5.7 simply runs. Ammo is expensive. typically $38 to $50 for defensive loads. But what you get is speed, soft armor penetration, accuracy, and controllability unlike any traditional pistol caliber. This isn't a plinking round. It's purpose-built for shooters who want precision and reach far beyond standard expectations. But maybe you're not looking for speed or futuristic flatness. Maybe you're looking for power, real power. That's where the 10mm steps in. The first time I picked up a Springfield XDM Elite in 10mm, the weight alone set the tone. This isn't a soft shooter. This is a cartridge that carries authority. A 200-grain Underwood load at 1,250 feet per second produces close to 700 foot-pounds of energy, rivaling or surpassing .357 Magnum while offering higher capacity and faster follow-ups. The XDM platform handles it with a forged slide, match-grade barrel, and aggressive but comfortable grip texture that tames the round more than you'd expect. But there's no getting around the fact that 10 is expensive and demands respect from the shooter. It's not the round you burn at the range in high volume. It's the round you carry when you move beyond city limits, face wildlife, or want the reassurance of deeper penetration and greater stopping power than the 9 could ever deliver. If power with recoil isn't your style, but you want speed and barrier penetration, the .357 SIG offers a very different answer. Built by necking down A.40 S&W case to fire a 9mm projectile, the .357 SIG is designed to slice through auto glass, metal, and hardened surfaces where traditional rounds struggle. A typical 125-grain gold dot leaves the barrel at around 1,400 feet per second, producing a flat, predictable flight path out to 50 yards and beyond. The SIG P229, built specifically to handle the pressures of this round, absorbs the snappy recoil with a robust stainless slide, reinforced locking lugs, and a tuned recoil system. The result is a handgun that feels incredibly stable for such a fast, high-pressure cartridge. Ammo costs more than 9mm, often $30 to $40 per box. But what you get is performance with a purpose, velocity, precision, and reliable behavior through intermediate barriers. And then there's the outlier, the caliber that doesn't just stretch the pistol category, it breaks the mold entirely. The .22 TCM brings rifle-style speed into a full-size 1911 platform, using a shortened .223 case firing a 40-grain bullet at roughly 2,000 feet per second. The first shot out of a Rock Island Armory .22 TCM isn't just loud, it's unmistakable. A bright, sharp report followed by almost no recoil at all. The muzzle barely rises. The sights return immediately. Your double taps become single fluid motions. And because Rock Island builds their TCM series specifically for this round with a ramped barrel and tuned delayed blowback system, the gun stays smooth no matter how fast you run it. Best of all, most models ship with a 9mm conversion kit, giving you 2 calibers in one pistol. Ammo runs about $25 to $35 for a box of 50, produced primarily by Armscore, which keeps quality consistent even if the selection is limited. The .22 TCM isn't trying to be mainstream, and it probably never will be. But it delivers something no other pistol caliber can: blazing speed, extremely low recoil, and true rifle-like performance from a handgun platform. At the end of the day, this shift away from 9mm isn't about abandoning what works. It's about acknowledging that shooters in 2025 have more specialized needs, more knowledge, and more options than ever before. The 9mm is still a solid, reliable, proven cartridge, and it has earned every bit of its reputation. But it's no longer the only answer. Not when newer calibers are stepping in with solutions to problems the 9mm simply wasn't built to solve. Whether it's deeper penetration through hard barriers, a flatter trajectory at distance, greater retained velocity, harder hitting energy, or higher capacity in the same footprint. Each of these modern calibers brings something unique to the table. And that uniqueness is exactly why more shooters are experimenting, adjusting, and in many cases, switching entirely. The landscape has changed. Today, shooters have choices tailored to the mission, not just tradition. The NM still holds its place, but it stands alongside a lineup of calibers that push performance into new territory. And for anyone serious about carrying, training, or preparing for the unknown, having more choices isn't a complication, it's an advantage.